Hello, this is the first chapter of Let's Play Blind, a suspense thriller novel in English by the author Vijay Shankar Sharma. There are 65 chapters in the novel. New chapter audio will be regularly added. If you like what you hear, be sure to subscribe to the channel of the author now. A Hindi feature film has been made on the novel. It's called And Let's Play Blind. The movie has English subtitles. So if you are interested at any time, you can watch the movie. However, the author guarantees that the novel has more characters, more story, and explains things that can't be explained in a movie. If you can guess what is going to happen, write in the comments. However, if you do know what happens in the end, you must not disclose it. Please like, share, and subscribe. Here we go.
Chapter 1, Real, Surreal or Unreal, 100 Days to Go. A young and beautiful woman walked down a virtually empty road. She was very fit, thanks to her regular yoga routine. She looked much younger than her real age. Her eyes were closed behind dark sunglasses, feeling her way forward with a foldable red and white walking stick. She had instinctively set a pattern of ticking the road with her 2-meter cane, oscillating in detection of any obstacles in her path. 1 foot right, 2 feet left, then she moved forward and felt the way ahead with the stick, taking about 1 second for each step forward. If her stick hit something on either side, that time would shorten until the path ahead was clear again. If she detected uneven ground or discovered sudden obstacles, she would change her direction accordingly, sometimes choosing a new course of action based on the type of sound she heard. Practice had made her perfect. For now, the ground was flat and wide open, the stick was making only 1 tick sound every 3 seconds. As she moved down the road, the sound was music to her ears. She wondered how much longer it would take before she reached the end of this road, knowing then she would have to take a right turn. There was no expression on the girl's face. She appeared calm. She was unaware the rest of the road outside her path was eerily empty, although it was 9 a.m. Had she known that the road would be this empty at such a time, she might not have taken the risk of walking alone earlier, when she had the choice. However, this was her first time walking this city's roads ever since moving here 2 years ago. She did not realize how risky it was for any person to be walking alone on this road, let alone someone as young and beautiful as she. Her blindness only added to such risk. She had been the subject of a molestation and possible rape attempt from someone she knew and trusted. Fortunately, she survived the attempt but could not complain to anyone. New Delhi was infamous for its crime, but particularly for rapes. The city averaged over 1,700 cases per year, and that number only accounted for those that went reported to police. The sick people who committed this heinous crime would even target little girls and babies, an atrocious form of torture which left an unforgettable trauma upon their victims. A spate of brutal rapes and murders led to public outrage against such criminals, and the government responded by severely tightening the laws. But they couldn't stop the perpetrators' sick and deranged minds, who could think of nothing else when they spotted a vulnerable subject to satiate their lust. A crime of an even greater atrocity and more brutal character was also unfortunately common in the area: gang rape. Such terrible circumstances involved multiple number of men who would cooperate in the sexual violation of their victim, coordinating the capture, restraint, and act itself among themselves in a deranged form of teamwork. This sort of abominable transgression came to the fore of Indian media attention in 2012. On December 16, a young couple were making their way home back from a mall not too far from this road, to Dwarka, a neighborhood in Delhi, having just gone to see a movie. On a stolen bus, a few men targeted the young woman, luring her with the promise of a ride home for both of them. They restrained and beat the man she was traveling with. The girl was not only raped and beaten, but tortured badly. She and her companion were thrown from the moving bus and left for dead. The young woman was transported from place to place, undergoing several surgeries over the course of 2 weeks, but ultimately died while under the care of a specialist in Singapore. The case drew the attention of the entire world, but was, of course, of special interest in India, and more specifically in Delhi. Because it is policy not to release the names of rape victims, the media referred to her by various pseudonyms, but the one that finally stuck was Nirbhaya, which meant fearless. The Nirbhaya case drew a laser-like focus upon the scourge of sexual assaults in India, inspiring protests, policy changes, and legal efforts to minimize the risk to young women across the country. Of greatest concerns were the root causes of such depravity, which lay in the old-fashioned attitudes of many Indian men. These notions were given a voice by the perpetrator's lawyer who, as reported by newspapers, put the blame for the attack upon Nirbhaya and her male escort. His reasoning was that they were unmarried, and should not have been out riding public transportation together. He suggested that if she had been married, the rapists would have left her alone. Likewise, he accused Nurbaya's partner of utterly failing to protect her against these attacks. As ridiculous as these words may have seemed to many who heard them, there were far too many people who would agree wholeheartedly with this logic. Fortunately, the courts did not agree, and all the rapists save one were sentenced to death for Nurbaya's rape and murder. The only one to escape the sentence was given clemency as a juvenile. One of the rapists was killed by other jail inmates. She knew all about the case which had happened when she lived in a different city. The empty road today was not a coincidence, there never being any traffic on this avenue at any time of the day. This road was near Kenwood Apartments, located within the community of Charmwood Village, alongside the Aravalli Mountain Environmental Protection Zone. There was a shooting range nearby, as well as a wildlife sanctuary. Charmwood Village was in Faridabad, a city which was itself part of the National Capital Region, the ever-expanding capital of India. Although Charmwood Village was less than a kilometer from the southern border of New Delhi, the empty road made it seem as if it were miles away from any center of population. The girl walking on this empty road was named Palak, a Hindi word for eyelid. Ironically, her eyelids were tightly shut as she walked. No one had seen her open them since she moved to this city. She was aware of the Nirbhaya case, but she never needed to worry for her safety. She had never walked on any road since moving to Delhi NCR 2 years ago. Tick, 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 tick. She continued walking, hoping the road would end soon. Suddenly, Palak experienced a huge jolt. Something or someone had hit her savagely. Whoever did it had no regard for the impact it would cause a human being, especially a petite, blind woman. Whoever or whatever it was, certainly did not care. Palak had heard the screeching sound of a car behind her a moment ago, but didn't pay any attention, walking on her corner of the road. It was for the faster moving vehicle to correct its course, not for the pedestrian to give way. The sound came from behind her, giving Palak no way to know where the car was or if she needed to move out of its path. Did a car just hit me? The thought crossed her mind for a split second as her dark shades flew away from her face and the walking stick left the grip of her right hand. Both fell away from her just as she herself uncontrollably spilled to the ground. Palak was quite brilliant, and used her intelligence and power to see behind the obvious. It had saved her life and sanity more than once. Even as she was falling to the ground, her instincts had taken over her brain functions, processing the bits and pieces of information she had to devise a response, if she ever got the chance. That was no car, she thought, knowing she would be instantly crushed if it were. Moreover, she could hear the screeching sounds of the car ahead. The jolt she felt originated near her shoulders, an impossibility for a car colliding against someone standing 5'5". For a moment, she considered it might be a different sort of vehicle, like a tempo, but concluded the sound she heard did not support that theory. She then realized that the impact did not feel stiff like metal, meaning it must be something else. The colliding mass seemed to still be upon her, although it was painless as they continued falling together. It is a person. A person hit me and is trying to pin me to the ground, Palak thought in the next nanosecond. Is someone trying to rape me? The thought chilled her to the bone. Or, is someone trying to kidnap me? Maybe both? The scenario fit, a person jolting and then restraining a lone girl with a vehicle on the scene, would point to a kidnap and subsequent rape attempt. There were dozens of such cases that happened in New Delhi and its other regional cities every month. In fact, kidnapping and rape in moving vehicles was much more common in the areas just outside New Delhi, where security was weaker and the roads were less busy. Palak just did not know what she could do in such a situation. She rued her decision to walk alone to her apartment, having never done it before. The rapists often horrifically murdered their victims in a bid to eliminate any evidence of their crime. A thought did cross her mind: if this was a person that was clutching her, it would be her first physical contact with a human in over a year. It felt terrible, reminiscent of the unwanted touch of several bodies she had experienced during her childhood in Haridwar. She only had one defense. It could either be quite effective, or extremely counterproductive, she had no way to tell. She had never used it, and hesitated to even try it. End of Chapter 1.